So continuing with our presentation, so we're very happy to have our next speaker. He is Dr. Neil Thomas. Dr. Thomas is a neurologist at Bruyere Memory Program, Bruyere Continuing Care, an affiliate investigator at Bruyere Research Institute, and also an assistant professor at the Department of Medicine at the University of Ottawa. Dr. Neil Thomas will talk about home monitoring technologies that aim to detect functional changes in individuals with cognitive impairment and to develop a French adaptation of the memory support system, which is an evidence-based intervention that trains persons with mild cognitive impairment to complete personal goals. And I will turn over to Dr. Thomas.
Hi. All right. Well, thanks for inviting me to talk about my research. Oh, perfect. Okay. So I was just going to ask about that. So we have a shared screen, so I can now access that. So that's great. So as Ramon said, I'm going to be talking a little bit about new ways that we're looking at evaluating individuals with cognitive impairment and looking to help them and their care partners. So the traditional way that we assess people is in the clinic, and we we ask people to come in, we get information from them, which is from self-report. We ask people to think back to everything that's happened over the last few months and try to give us a picture of what's going on. The assessment's done in the clinic, which is convenient for me, but not for other people coming here, especially if you try to park at Bruyere. We have infrequent and episodic assessments. So you come to the clinic every few months and we check up on how things are going. We ask some questions, we do some tests that are, try to get an idea of what's happening in someone's day-to-day functioning, but it's not a direct measure of what's going on. And the cognitive tests we do, they're quite important, they're quite valid, but they are somewhat artificial. And by that, I mean, it's not necessarily directly reflecting what you're doing day to day. And it may change a little bit depending on, how comfortable and how experienced the person that's doing the testing is. So again, we're looking at new ways, and we feel that if we're able to move some of this assessment into the home, we might be able to get different types of data that could be beneficial in certain situations. So some of this, we're going to get objective data and real-time data, and that means we're getting information of what's happening in the home. This is measured by sensors and different technology instead of the person trying to remember back to what's happened. It's continuous, meaning these information, like Dr. Knuffel showed with that wandering detection system, we can run that type of system over a longer period of time. The idea of ecologically valid is that maybe it's a little bit more measuring, things that you're doing day to day and not just asking you to remember a list of words or different things like that. The idea with a lot of the sensors and the platforms that we use is that it's unobtrusive, meaning it can just sort of fade into the background, and the person is able to live their life, and we are able to collect information, find out what's going on. We can also assess what we call intra-individual variation. So we can compare one person to themselves, not to a large group of people who we think are similar to them because of their similar age and physical status and things like that. And then if we get high frequency data collection, instead of me getting a bit of information every 6 months, we can look about changes that are happening day by day. And so this gives us an idea of why, being able to measure you against yourself might be important. So generally, when we do studies and research, we will compare someone to a group of people that are matched, again, usually based on age, maybe education level, other medical conditions. But when we're looking at something like this, is a measure of gait speed, so how fast someone's walking. And so this is measuring how many walks that happened in the home using a home sensor that's measuring speed of walking, and then how quickly they walked. And so you can see if we compared subject A and subject B into a large group of people, subject A might seem like they're quite slow, or there might be a problem with their walking compared to subject B, who's almost twice as fast. But if this is sort of the normal walking speed for subject A, and it's not a sign of any problem, the better thing is for us to measure that, and then we can, over time, compare that person to themselves, and then only kind of start to do assessments or get worried about if something is dropping below that person's normal level, and we can kind of look to see when they're going to be doing things less than what's common for them. So the other thing that might be helpful with this idea of high frequency and continuous data is that, again, when we're assessing people in the clinic, we're going to see, so this is just a measure of, let's say, a hypothetical measure of someone going through and developing dementia. So there's a slow progression over time. Maybe their functioning is normal early on. They might have early changes, mild cognitive impairment, eventually to dementia. This is what we sort of look at, just a general marker of brain health and reserve and cognitive functioning. And then this would be a clinical marker. So this could be, a pen and paper memory test, or looking at walking speed, looking at medication adherence. And what a lot of this data of looking at home-based monitoring has found is that before, maybe we see the person in the clinic at this stage when there's a lower period of functioning. But before that, there might not have been a big change in their day-to-day functioning that was measurable, but things might become more variable. So instead of, starting to completely forget to take medications, maybe, you miss that dose and you take it a little bit later in the day. So there's sometimes, again, this variability that can be a sign of cognitive decline or changes in memory and thinking, and that is happening before there's a noticeable or measurable change that the family or the person might see. So the idea here is, these types of assessments, we might be able to pick up things a bit earlier and see when that variability is happening, and then either make it intervene a bit earlier in people who are developing changes in either cognition or other aspects of their health. So with that in the background of why there might be some benefits to home monitoring and home assessment, we're looking at a project that will look at smart home systems for individuals with cognitive impairment. So we want to look at testing and developing new methods to detect changes in day-to-day functioning in individuals in the home setting using this type of unobtrusive technology-based platform. And so the overall objectives will be to kind of review the sensors, and what we've been doing over the last couple of years is looking at a research-based platform, and we're partnering with a group that has a lot of experience with this, and a collab that we collaborated with in the US. We want to see if Canadian-based and the sensors that we're looking at could be looked at within this platform. We want to obtain feedback, so we want to get information from older adults, individuals with cognitive impairment, and their caregivers. And we've done some focus groups and information on this to find out, what are their priorities for data collection, how would they want to use the data, and how would they want to start to get feedback and maybe prompting from this type of system, and then start that actual ability to take sensor data, and instead of just look at it, down the road in a research study, can we start to provide immediate support or maybe some feedback to individuals, providing information on what the sensors are telling us. So here's just a general overview of the research-based aging in place platform that we've been using. This is one of a few different sensor platforms we're looking at, but this is developed by, again, our collaborators in the US, and it's allowed us to share data and look at information from the system and compare it to studies that have already been done. So again, we're able to get information on mobility through the home and activity in the home with motion sensors. In some studies, when we have multiple individuals in the home, people may use a smartwatch. They can track activity level, step count, sleep. We get some information on body composition and weight. We have an electronic pill box that lets us know when the compartment's open and closed to better track medication taking behavior. We can get information on sleep with a pressure mat, similar to that Dr. Knufel showed you in the last study, measuring things such as computer activity, not what's exactly happening on the computer, more just computer use, like how much time, how many sessions, because that other studies have shown that changes as people are developing cognitive impairment. Again, that idea of that variability before a decline. And then information on, contact sensors on the door to see time spent out of the home can be a marker of socialization. All of this is collecting information in the background. The person is just told to live your life as you normally would, and this sensors can pick up, again, these changes in day-to-day functioning and patterns of activity that might suggest there's changes in health. It's all collected by this monitorless PC and then sent to right now to a secure database where it can be studied for research studies going forward. Again, as I'm saying, when this is part of a large group of researchers who are looking at home-based monitoring, home-based technologies to support aging in place type research. And so we're one of this group that are using the same type of home assessment system. So here we get some actual data and information from the system. We can start to look at activity patterns, what's normal for an individual, and again, what might signal some changes in their health. So here we're looking at what we call a circle plot here. So each ring is 1 day, and we're getting information from the sensors. This plot is made up of data from the activity, the motion sensors in each room, and then also a smartwatch. So when there's activity in higher levels of activity in one or multiple rooms in the home, let's see these green dots. So there's lots of people, or people are moving through the home a lot during the day. Same thing at night, we can see the levels of activity that sort of finish off around 11 or 12. Periods of black, these little black dots are when there's not really activity in the house. And then the blue here is the sleep period as measured by the watch. And so this is an activity pattern of an individual with mild cognitive impairment living with their partner. And again, this is just an example of what sort of data we could get to form a baseline of activity, and then see, are there changes? Is sleep periods becoming shorter? Are they shifting if someone's not falling asleep as well? And what would be changes in the pattern of activity over time? You can also measure things like medication adherence. And this is data from almost a whole year from an individual who developed dementia during the study monitoring period. So this is just the time of day here. And we're seeing when the pill was taken. And this is the date of monitoring over, again, almost a full year period. Each black dot here is when a pill was taken and the time it was taken that day when that compartment was opened, and then the X is a day that the pill was missed. And so again, over that year period of time, we can start to see trends where, maybe there's a bit more variability. The pills are being taken at a bit more erratic times in the later on in the monitoring period as the person's condition has progressed, and they're also missing doses a little bit more frequently. One method that might be helpful is to start combining information, because that can give us more information on what's going on in the home. And the reason I show this type of example is here we have just, again, a representative example from data from one home where there's information from passive infrared sensors. So these sense motion in each room, so we can tell where someone is in the home. The wristwatch is just measuring whether the person is asleep or awake. And then the bed mat is giving us a bit more fine and detailed information about sleep. And so you can see what this picked up was that there was the person got out of bed at some point. And by combining information from these sensors, we might get a little bit more information. You can see how the wristwatch didn't really pick that up, but the bed mat did. And then we can get a bit of information about what happened. So, someone who might be getting up at night, are they wandering around the home? Are they having difficulty going back to sleep? Or was it simply just a quick trip to the bathroom and then back to bed? And so the overall idea is to create this sort of supportive smart home system. And this is a model of what we'd like to do with our SAM3 group that Dr. Knuthel talked about, being able to monitor multiple different activities in the home to see if there's day-to-day changes in functioning that are important to people that signal changes in health, provide that information, start to be able to do an analysis and provide that information back to individuals. And one of the ways we're doing that is to look at creating a feedback system. So here, again, we have some data from the watch on the right panel here, the step count for the day, and then the sleep period and an average sleep period over the last few weeks. And then information on how much time is spent together and time in different rooms in the home. And so from our focus groups and the work we did to find out what older adults wanted in this information, people were able to let us know that this sort of system they felt would be helpful. It'd be allow them to get some insight into the person living with dementia and their sleep targets. If they see something that's wrong, they might, go to find further investigation. They indicated, some of this could be upsetting at first to see if there's changes, but it would be eye-opening, good to know, because you could take action on that. And a lot of people wanted something in a summary weekly. So based on that, so we do have a daily summary, but then we also are providing information in a sort of weekly summary. And we're also looking at providing a weekly summary that analyzes the data a little bit and tells people, your sleep was not as good this week compared to last week, or, your activity level either went down or up a lot. And so we get these weekly summaries of sleep, of step counts, and then also of time spent together. And so we're recruiting right now to test this type of system. We want to get information back from people about what they think of the system. Is it the information useful? Can they understand it? And so we are looking at caregivers and former caregivers of individuals with cognitive impairment to look at the system for a 4-week duration. They'd have access to simulated data and be able to sort of give us feedback on this type of feedback system. And then, we do want to look at other ways. Can we do better assessments of nighttime behavior, like the wandering detection assessment that Dr. Knufel talked about, maybe looking at people who are seen at Briere in different programs like the day hospital or geriatric rehab, be able to follow them afterwards. So the second part that I want to talk about is a support system for individuals with mild cognitive impairment. So the HABIT program was designed at the Mayo Clinic, and we're partnering with collaborators there to look at this a component of this HABIT program. So this is something that is trying to help individuals with mild cognitive impairment learn the best skills for helping to maintain independence and function. Normally it consists of 5 programs. So there's 5 components. There's a memory support system that does some training that I'll talk about, the cognitive exercises with online computerized cognitive training, exercise with yoga, support groups, and then information sessions to promote wellness and information on mild cognitive impairment. But the part of that we're focusing on is this memory support system. So this is a 2-page per day pocket-sized calendar note-taking system, and it breaks things down into events, to-dos, and then journaling for helping to log important information for people to help remember what's coming up and what's going on. This training session consists of 10 one-hour sessions, and it's delivered to the individual with cognitive impairment and their partner. And the idea is to help support independence. So right now, this is offered in English in the Mayo Clinic systems, but as we have a bilingual city in it, we're in a bilingual area of the country with it. We want to be able to offer this to francophones as well. So we're looking to translate and culturally adapt this memory support system into French and be able to provide it to francophones with mild cognitive impairment and their care partners. And so this study would be looking at the adherence. Do people, learn and be able to keep up with the intervention? And then does it have any benefits on their mood, quality of life, and the stress level of the care partner? So we are still recruiting. This is coming to a close near the end of this year, but we're looking for French-speaking individuals who have a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment and have a care partner that they have contact with that would be willing to do these training sessions. And again, it's over 2 to 6 weeks and 10 hours each. They would do some testing before the assessment and fill out some questionnaires. They then go through the training session and then repeat some of that testing afterwards to see if there's any change or benefit to the intervention. And again, moving forward, we want to take this and be able to offer it to individuals seen at Briere and in our Ottawa community in both English and French to see, again, provide this memory support system as an intervention to help people with mild cognitive impairment. And eventually, we'd love to be able to implement that entire HABIT program in the Ottawa region as an intervention for people with mild cognitive impairment to provide additional support.